This happened in December of 2019. I started working a new job in the mall, and I had to work for most of Boxing Day. I was done at 10 p.m, and transit seemed to have ended at 7 p.m. I'm a student who didn't go home for the holidays due to this job, and never had to deal with holiday transit hours. I decided to call an Uber, and the driver picked me up right in front of the mall. We had a casual conversation during the drive back, and he learned about where I worked and how I'm living on my own for the time being, since my roommates went back to their hometowns. Fast forward to the next day at work, around 6 p.m. This driver walks into the store and tries to strike up a conversation with me, but I told him I had to get back to work. He also asked if we could hang out later, to which I said no, and he left. At the end of that shift, at 10 p.m, I walked out of the store, planning to take transit. As soon as I stepped out of the store, the driver immediately pulled up next to me and offered to give me a free ride back home. After going back and forth, with me declining and him saying it's free, I decided to walk away and caught a bus home. I was pretty overwhelmed by the fact that he showed up to my workplace and waited 3 hours until I had finished work to offer me a ride home. I reported this to Uber, and they notified me that they suspended the driver, provided me with a full refund, and gave me a link to provide to the police if I planned on filing a report. It was pretty silly of me to give away information like that to a stranger, but I hope to never meet that driver again, who appeared to be twice my age, who knows where I work and live. Lesson learned, 110%. I'm a 5'3", 115 pounds female, so I guess I'm pretty small. That's my reasoning for being very submissive over all of this. When I started working at this fast food chain, I was 16. It was my first job, and I was excited to finally take my first steps into adulthood. This co-worker of mine was training me. For privacy purposes, I'm going to call him Frank. Frank, at a glance, looked young, 19 or 21 at the most. We got along, and nothing was too bad or alarming. Like conversations about anime and such. I remember things started to change slightly when he was talking about a video game character, and none of our co-workers knew who it was. When I saw the green hat character, I said, "Oh, that's Link. How cute. I used to watch my brother play Legend of Zelda 4 Swords." He looked at me and said, "Marry me." I laughed it off and continued on with my day. For the rest of my shift, he would hover over me, asking me personal questions like my age, favorite things, etc. Being the open, friendly person I was, I answered happily. I told him that I loved butterflies and that I was 16. I'm 17 now and have had several jobs since. When an older man asks you for your age as a minor, it's never a good sign. Moving on to December, I've been at this chain for a month now. My manager asked me if I wanted to come to their company's Secret Santa party, and I agreed. When the day came, I arrived with my now ex-best friend. Frank arrives on the phone, acting busy and such, but I thought nothing of it. During the whole party, he was on the phone. I was getting food when he tapped my shoulder, still on the phone, and handed me a beautiful butterfly necklace. I didn't know what to say besides thanking him, thinking he was my Secret Santa. Then later, my other co-worker comes up to me, handing me a gift card to Starbucks and a plush. I ask why, and she said she was my Secret Santa. I thought it must have been a mistake, and went on with my night, listening to my old best friend tell me how I should date Frank, which in my mind was never on the table. January rolls around, and it was Frank's birthday. We were just working until I heard one of my female co-workers, who was into him at the time, wish him a happy birthday. Being that person, I wish him happy birthday while my other co-worker asks how old he's turning. He said 27. Might I add that every shift I worked with him, he would take several photos of me before and after my shift, commenting about my hair, my skin and eyes. Often said how cute my nose was. Again, not wanting to cause a scene, I just laugh everything off. That's always the case, isn't it? We don't want to cause a scene. I did start telling him to please stop, but of course he wouldn't no matter how many times I asked him to. Now I'm going to skip to May, my birthday month, and of course I was working on my birthday. I went to the back door as usual. Due to COVID, I had to ring a doorbell and wait for someone to open the door. Out of nowhere, Frank pops out of the bushes, handing me all these kinds of gifts. Today was his day off too, so I was generally confused. I remember thinking, how the hell did he know my birthday? I never talk about it since I don't like celebrating it. He followed me around for a few minutes before awkwardly leaving when I apologized that I want to get to work and not get yelled at. July is when I finally found a new job. I quit due to sexual harassment I had to endure for the 9 months I worked there from my shift lead. That's a whole other story, but when a man starts getting handsy, don't laugh it off. You gotta shut that down. It got really bad when that ex-best friend that I mentioned earlier started showing all my co-workers, including Frank and that shift lead, explicit photos of me that she stole off my phone without me knowing. I was very insecure at the time and was in an abusive relationship, so I would give anything this boy asked of me. Anyway, at this point, I had about had it. After being interrogated about that shift lead, I put in my 2 weeks. On my last week, everyone was talking about how the shift lead got laid off for sexual harassment. Frank and I were doing dishes and the topic came up. I awkwardly told him about it, now knowing how everyone knew my story. The shift lead would often grab my ass, rub my thigh, talk about my boobs, about how if they were bigger, and the things he would do to my body, etc, etc. I would say stop politely, but he would continue. When I started yelling and saying stop more assertively, he would often make me do humiliating tasks like clean the greasy floors on my hands and knees, or cleaning the dining room when it was closed due to COVID. When I told Frank this, he shrugged it off and said that there was no reason for him to be fired. I remember being absolutely shocked, retorting, "I'm just glad I'm leaving this hellhole," and left it at that. A month into my new job as a hostess, everything was going well. It's a restaurant, but everyone just comes here to drink, so it's more of a bar. On one of my 2 AM shifts, Frank stops by on his bike. I tried to be friendly, but he was getting frustrated when he kept cutting me off from talking to other people. I then walk away to the busy tables because no one else would do it, and he couldn't follow me into the restaurant. Outdoor seating, of course. After seeing to all the tables, I come up to the counter to see my co-workers giggling. "What happened?" I asked. The other hostess smiled. "That's so cute how your boyfriend takes photos of you while you're working. It's so cute how obsessed he is over you. He wouldn't stop talking about you to us." Boyfriend? I was and still happily remain single after that mess up of a relationship. The only person they could be referring to was Frank. Then it dawned on me, how the hell did he know where I was working and my shift schedule? I didn't tell anyone besides my brother and parents. A week goes by and Frank comes back. I may have gotten a little overdramatic, but I didn't know what else to do. I told the other host at the counter to tell him I'm not working today and dashed inside. I told my manager that this man, Frank, keeps taking photos of me as I'm working, and it's making me uncomfortable. My manager told me to stay in the back room while he went to handle the situation. Our restaurant is very popular in the area, so it's very crowded in the front. Frank with his bike was blocking customers, and that's what my manager was telling him. My idiotic ass was popping my head up a little under the backroom window where I could see what was going on in the front. I freak out a little when I see Frank get aggressive with my manager. He begins thrashing when my manager tries to lead him out of the front. Suddenly, Frank throws his bike and tries heading into the building. A few male waiters see what's happening and were informed by my manager. I remember one waiter standing in the back room with me, watching the door, as another was practically fighting with Frank. I could only hear yelling outside the door, and then it was quiet. I spent the rest of the shift like that, cleaning silverware with the male server. From then on, people would walk me to my car, even if it was broad daylight. From August to November, he would be on his bike passing by the restaurant from a distance. He would just be watching and taking photos for 10 or 20 minutes before leaving. Now it's been a little more intense than just watching from a distance. Due to COVID, I'm not needed anymore because my restaurant is takeout only. I've been working seasonal jobs while working at the restaurant, but now I'm not working, waiting to get my schedule. I was bored this particular day, so I drive to my local mall just to do a little Christmas shopping. While driving, I look in my rearview mirror to see a recognizable face. It was Frank. I practically choke seeing his face in my mirror. I try not to get the best of myself and knock it off as a coincidence. Yet, it wasn't. He followed me throughout the mall, and then later, followed me as I was driving home. No one knows where I live, besides that old friend, and I'd like to keep it like that. So I drove for an hour, getting lost and taking every random turn I could until I lost him. I now believe this is how he would track me down. My car isn't common, but it doesn't stand out too much. I've rarely left my house since. It's now January 2021, and since the start of this new year, I've been getting phone calls that go a bit like this. Hello? Someone breathes creepily into the phone. Hello? And then they end the call. Along with that, I've gotten many random messages asking about gifts and delivering me a gift. I'm not one who usually uses social media, but these messages were all over mine. All of them were from newly made accounts across Snapchat and Instagram. On one occasion, an account started sending me photos that I never sent to anyone. These were photos of my cat and me that I had saved in my Snapchat album. Just photo after photo of things I've never sent, and ending with, "I have a gift for you." I deleted both apps, along with deleting almost everything off my phone. A week ago, I downloaded Snapchat again due to some dumb assignment my teacher wanted us to do with that social media app. One of my old co-workers sent me a message, so I opened it. "Frank wants to give you your Christmas gift. Want to stop by?" Maybe I'm just overreacting, or maybe those accounts were Frank. I just want to say, my personality has changed because of all this. I'm very proactive now, rarely talk to anyone, not as friendly as I was then. It's only been a little over a year, yet I feel like I've aged about 10 plus years. I just want to say, Frank, let's not meet, and screw your Christmas gift. This all started in the summer of 2018. My girlfriend broke up with me after 2 years, and my heart was broken. So my mental state and thinking were not really the best. At this point, I was ready to latch on to anyone who would give me their attention or love. And that's when I met Lisa. Lisa messaged me on Instagram with "Hey, what's up, babe?" I saw this as confusing since I had never met this girl in my life, so I assumed she must have had the wrong account. I messaged her back, telling her that I was not her babe and to please stop talking to me. But after ignoring a constant barrage of texts from her, I gave in to see what she had to say. Lisa said that she had been following me for a while, and also liked me for a while, and wanted to know if I would like to date. Whoa, she likes me. I clung on to that thought and believed it wholeheartedly. To be honest, I wasn't ready to get back into a relationship, but the thought of someone liking me and wanting to get to know me got the better of me. So I decided I would entertain the idea of dating and see where it would take me. I only realize now how stupid that choice was. None of this would have happened. Flash forward a few months. Lisa and I had been talking every day and had gotten to know each other pretty seriously. Like all the common couple tropes of their favorite whatevers. We called every single day and talked for hours on end. I felt so happy and felt that maybe this might be the one. But underneath it all, I was being manipulated for her better gain. I was starting college in the fall, so I had an ample amount of money stored up for books and supplies, and Lisa knew this. So she started asking for small amounts of money, like $5 and $10 here and there. I thought it wasn't that big a deal, since it was a relatively small amount. So, like the dumbass I was, I gave in and sent it to her. These askings started becoming weekly, and every week the demands would seem to get higher and higher. I was so scared of losing what happiness I had got from her that I complied. I even had to get a job halfway into my fall semester just to give half my earnings to her. I barely had the money to feed myself, let alone afford my books. But I made do the best I could. I was being manipulated and was too blind to see it wasn't love at all. Every time I would try to reason with her by saying I don't have enough, she would pull up the "you just don't love me, do you? If you really loved me, you would send it." This was always enough for me to scrape together something to give her. Now it was nearing the end of my first semester, and it was also nearing the time of Lisa's birthday. Mind you, I have never seen Lisa in person up until then. She sent me pictures and selfies sometimes, and I'd do the same. But calling her and hearing her voice was the extent of my interaction with her. But she invited me to her birthday party. Thinking this was my chance to finally see her, I sprang at the opportunity. And when that fateful day finally arrived, I drove to her house. Everything was normal at first. She lived surprisingly close to where I was at the time, and the area of the address that Lisa gave me looked legit enough. So I make it there, and the entire street was empty, like there wasn't a car or a person in sight. Lisa told me that her family from out of state was coming, along with her friends, so I found it odd that there was no one around. This was a red flag, but I pushed it aside and began to walk up to her house. Lisa's house was a normal-looking single-story home. It didn't look like there was a basement, but still, I couldn't get rid of the feeling like something was wrong and that I shouldn't be here. But nevertheless, I rang the doorbell and waited. Then I waited some more, and nothing. I tried knocking as hard as I could, and looking through the window for someone, or any sign of life, but there was nothing. I verified that Lisa gave me the correct address, and this was the house in the address. But then I got a text from Lisa telling me to come through to the back door. At this point, I knew that what I was getting myself into was a bad idea, and decided to just ring the doorbell one more time. Why I didn't just leave is beyond me. A part of me thinks it was just curiosity, but I ring it, and this big burly man answers the door. He was wearing what looked like really stained flannel. I ask if Lisa is there, and he says I'm her brother. Lisa never mentioned that she had a brother, but as he was walking away, I happened to glance down, and the guy isn't wearing any pants. Like, he was just naked from the waist down. I look back up, and he's just staring at me, with these cold, dead eyes. You know what the eyes of a dead fish look like? Yeah, his were the same. He tells me to come inside, but the way he says it, it's like he's not asking, but telling me to come inside. At this point, I didn't care about seeing Lisa, and just wanted to get the hell out of there. I told him to tell Lisa I said happy birthday and booked it to my car. I drove back to my house and called Lisa, demanding to know what kind of sick prank she was trying to pull. She texted me back, "Why didn't you stay for my party?" Like she wasn't aware of the events that transpired. At this moment, I knew and had a deep feeling of shame in myself. I knew that Lisa didn't love me and that she was using me, and now she's even acting ignorant to what I was saying. Even though a small slither of me didn't want to break up with her, I ended it and told her to never contact me again. 2 weeks pass, and just as I'm starting to get over my sense of heartbreak, Lisa texts me out of the blue. I don't check it until hours later, and they're all images of me. Some of when I was checking my mail or out getting groceries, but the one that made my stomach sink the most was a selfie of her standing outside of my house with the caption, "Found you." I block her on everything, and I even got rid of my own accounts on most social medias too. I thought that this was over, but it was only the beginning. Every week, I would get a new call or text from a random number, and it would always be the same. Just pictures of me doing random stuff, with the occasional creepy, "I'm coming for you" text. This kept happening just like clockwork, and I didn't know what to do. Then the packages started to come. They would just be poorly duct-taped boxes left on my porch. I never opened them in fear for what was inside them. I didn't know what to do except ignore them and ignore every attempt that was thrown my way. I knew it was from Lisa. I didn't have any undeniable proof, but my gut feeling was that it was coming from Lisa and possibly her brother, if he was even her brother. These events kept following late into 2019. By this point, I didn't check or answer any phone calls that I didn't strictly know, and one day, it just stopped. Like, all the texts, the phone calls, everything. Things went silent from there on out, like it never happened. I was in constant fear and paranoia that every random number that calls me is her, that every stray email that happens in my inbox is her, and it has completely and utterly ruined my life. Thankfully, right now, I'm doing better with managing it. That is, until this afternoon. I got a call from an unknown number. The job that I currently have requires me to answer each and every phone call, so I pick it up without hesitation. And the moment they spoke their first word, it felt like my heart was in my stomach. I couldn't breathe and I was struggling to speak. It was Lisa. She told me that she'll be paying me a visit tomorrow. I'm scared. I'm not ashamed to admit that. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but Lisa is coming. Update. I've been trying to stay away from the internet as a whole. After what had happened, I don't know who to trust nor believe I'm safe anymore. I'm in the process of moving apartments, somewhere far away, hopefully where she won't find me. To those that are wondering what happened to warrant this, I'll briefly explain. The day Lisa came, I barricaded myself in my apartment and tried my best to make it look like no one was home. I don't know the exact time she came, but when I heard knocking on my apartment door, I knew it was her. Slowly, the knocks became louder and louder, until I came to the realization that she was trying to break my door down. She was screaming something. It sounded guttural, like she was screaming like a wild animal or something. But she eventually broke down my door and started looking for me, calling out to me like I'm some kind of lost dog. It was horrifying. I was hiding underneath my bed, clasping my hands over my mouth so she wouldn't hear me. I can still remember the way it felt. I genuinely thought I was going to die. I'm sad to admit it, but I even thought about accepting my fate and just letting her kill me. After a while looking and calling, Lisa just started to moan. She was just moaning and started knocking everything over, completely trashing everything. She eventually left, but I didn't move. I couldn't move. It was like I was in some state of shock. It was only after I heard my neighbours coming into my apartment to check on me did I feel it was safe to come out. There was nothing left alone in my apartment. Everything was broken, and I mean everything. I didn't feel safe. I feel like if Lisa sees me, she will kill me. I'm not okay. I feel like I'm going crazy. Every night since then, I've had the same dream of Lisa smiling at me as I'm consumed by darkness. It's unsettling. I don't know what to do. The police in my area don't help all too often. I don't even have the support of my parents anymore. They think I'm delusional and that I need help. Maybe I do. Am I in the wrong? Did I do something to cause this? I don't know. At this point, all I can do is hope for the best. I had blocked this story from my memory until my girlfriend reminded me of it a couple of days ago. I started dating my girlfriend at the end of my senior year, and before we started dating, I used multiple dating apps. In many of my dating app profiles, I had my Snapchat listed so people could add me. This is important. Nothing led to anything with the dating apps. I'd talk to people for a bit, and eventually the conversation would die out. When I began dating my girlfriend, I had deleted the apps but never deleted my account, meaning people could still see my profile and my Snapchat in it. I realized this after a few people would add me, but it didn't go anywhere because I would tell them I had a girlfriend. As you would imagine, the conversation would end there. But there was this one guy that added me, let's call him Adam, and he asked me if I was available. Being straight, I was used to guys adding me, so I gave him the usual response. Sorry, I'm straight and I have a girlfriend. I expected him to leave me alone, but he didn't. At first, the messages were normal. How was your day? What did you do today? Simple stuff like that. Being the nice guy that I am, I responded because I thought this guy just wanted to be friends, and having a gay friend is okay with me. Then the messages progressively got more creepy. He started asking questions about my girlfriend, and not the basic questions. Questions like, do you guys have sex a lot? Or does she like it when you're good in bed? I simply responded with, those are kind of personal questions, and I don't feel like it's right for me to share my dating business. Adam would always apologize and not talk to me for a few days. Then he would hit me up again and ask creepy questions again. I eventually told my girlfriend about the situation. My girlfriend is super sweet, but she is also very aggressively protective over me. So she adds this guy and basically tells him that he needs to leave me alone. Unfortunately, this enraged Adam, who responded with saying, I need to dump this bitch. Naturally, I defend my girlfriend and block Adam. Everything was cool for a week, until another account added me. The guy's name was Tyler, and he was super chill. He was super nice to me and respected my relationship with my girlfriend. As the days go by, I start to notice that Tyler's vocabulary was very similar to Adam's. I wasn't sure about it, so I didn't make any assumptions that it was him. So I gave Tyler's snap to my girlfriend, who adds him to investigate. As soon as she adds Tyler's snap, Tyler flips out on her, which confirmed that it was Adam. As soon as this realization is made, I block him again. From here, everything goes quiet from Adam for about a month. So I live in the suburbs of Chicago, and both my girlfriend and I live down the street from each other. So naturally, we do see each other a lot, and both our families are really good friends. On top of that, our families would also house sit or pet sit for each other. Anyway, a month goes by until I get a letter with no address on it, just my name on the front. I open it, and to my shock and horror, it's basically a love letter from Adam. The premise of the letter was basically him saying that he loves me and he wants me to run off with him. The letter also takes a very sexual turn halfway through, with him describing what he wants me to do to him and him to do to me. At this point, Two horrifying realizations hit me. One is that he knows my address, and two, he dropped that letter off himself, meaning that he is in my town. I immediately call my girlfriend, who is equally as shocked as I am, and after consulting with my parents, we call the cops. Unfortunately, since I had blocked him, as well as removed Adam's social media information, and that the letter had no return address, there was nothing we could do about it. Day after day, letters would keep appearing in my mailbox, until they also started appearing in my girlfriend's mailbox as well. Her letters were far worse than mine. Adam wrote of how much he hated her and how much he wanted to hurt her. He also stated many times of the ways he would inflict pain onto her until she broke up with me. Like me, she took this to the cops, and again, they could do nothing about it. My girlfriend's family had plans to go to Hawaii for vacation, and I was to house sit for them. The first couple of days went fine, until around one of the last nights of the week. As per usual, I was over at their house watching TV on the couch when the power went out. The next few seconds were silent. Then I hear a window smash from the office. To understand this more, let me give you the layout of the house. When you enter the front door, to your left is a living room. Straight ahead was both the kitchen and stairs, and to the right was the office and dining room. On the upstairs level, as soon as you reach the top of the stairs, a bathroom was straight ahead, and my girlfriend's room was on the right, and the other bedrooms were on the left. Immediately, I shot up and grabbed a kitchen knife and ran upstairs to hide while I called the cops. I quickly got into my girlfriend's room and slipped into the closet. As soon as I was able to contact the operator, I heard the pounding of the intruder running up the stairs. Thankfully, I had relayed all the information to the operator in time, who then stayed on the phone as we both remained quiet. The intruder took a left when he reached the top of the stairs, which gave more time for the cops to arrive, and for me to get ready, just in case I needed to defend myself. A few minutes go by, and I heard the intruder start walking towards my girlfriend's room. In the few precious seconds I had, I slipped out of the closet and positioned myself next to the door. As soon as he opened the door and started to enter the room, I took the kitchen knife and drove it into his shoulder. A young man screamed in pain as I heard a heavy metallic object make a large thud as it hit the ground. From there, I bolted out of the house, where I was met by 4 squad cars and the cops with their guns raised. I threw my hands up, shouting that he was upstairs in the room to the right. A few minutes go by, and the intruder was dragged out, still screaming in pain. With the siren light flooding the street, I got a glimpse of his face. It was Adam. And I was informed later by an officer that metallic thud was made by him dropping a handgun. Adam was from Texas and had traveled up to my state to be with me. He had rented a room at a local motel and would put letters through both my girlfriend's and my mailbox daily. He would do this in the early hours of the morning, which was confirmed by security footage of the motel he was staying at. That night, Adam had plans to kill my girlfriend and her family, so I would choose to be with him. He managed to pry open the power box and switch off the power to her house, along with neighboring houses, and broke in with the intent of her being there. Well, unfortunately for him, she was enjoying a tropical vacation. To be honest, I have no idea how this outcome would be different if they hadn't gone on vacation. And I'm grateful that I still have my girlfriend, as well as her family, alive. So Adam, please stay the hell away from my girlfriend and me.